So I decided that today would be a great day to do something to my studio that I've been kind of thinking about doing for a while now. It's very Harry Potter themed out in the studio, or around the studio, well, even inside of it to a degree. But it's my studio, and it really needed one of my dragons on it. So today I decided I would be putting another version of my Armageddon dragon up above Buckbeak on the front of my studio, well, on the house-facing side of my studio. And so I ran some video on it, and it worked relatively well for part of it. And I sped it up a little bit here so you can kind of see what's happening. The first thing I did was rough out the red area, basically just the whole outline, filling it all out. And the trick to this is I've got that little piece of paper that's taped to the wall there. And that page is a photo of the studio with a Photoshop version of the sketch that I did of the dragon superimposed on it. And when I did that, I left the lines of the boards of the studio behind. And by doing that, it gives me a little bit of a guideline to figure out where everything's going to line up. Because when you're standing 8 to 10 inches away from a very large wall, it's really hard to keep track of where you are. And proportions can get really out of hand. The cat just ran by there. So I kind of go with a little bit of a guide like that. I like working on walls like this where there's some sort of a surface, regular construction feature, like the boards or having bricks on the wall or something like that, that I can use as sort of a guide to help me line up where my sketch is going to be to where the wall is. It's kind of a grid. Not a very good grid, because this is just vertical lines and the one sort of horizontal board going across there. But I did take a picture of the whole studio structure. So I have the corners of the barn top there. I've got the places where the paint is gray on the sides there that stop at specific points, and I've got the window to go off of. So I have a few horizontal structures or landmarks that I can kind of eyeball and use to figure out where I'm at. So this is coming along pretty accurately, I think. And trick is reaching everything. But yeah, I figure once I've got a couple of things down, points in the wings and stuff like that, it's pretty easy to figure out where the rest of it lines up. Just putting the nose directly across from that point that's on the board above the window there, you can see it just sort of all falls into place. And I show that on my little sketch there. It's hard to see in the video, but the sketch actually has all of these things kind of lined up, so you can tell that you're in the right track that way. And sometimes you just gotta step back and see if it's all fitting. That upper wing's gonna be the tricky one, and it's gonna take a little ladder adjustment to actually reach that, because the studio is pretty tall. I think it's about, I wanna say, 16, 18 feet tall. And I'm going to have to reach about 14 feet up to get the top of that wing. And it's going to fight with me just a little bit. Well, coming up here is where things get a little bit weird. It was a very bright sunny day out, and because of that, I wasn't able to see very well the screen on my phone, which I'm using to videotape all of this, or just video all of this. So I went in and took a little break, answered some messages and things, and I came back out. Phone was still sitting there on the tripod. and brought up the camera, hit record, or at least I thought I hit record. Basically, I hit what was the record button when I went in, but it must have switched over to photo, and took one picture. There's the picture that I took. Then I went back to work thinking I was recording everything, and it wasn't really recording everything. A little disappointing. We ended up missing an awful lot of figuring out all the lights and shadows, but alas, I decided, after considering it for a brief moment, I wasn't going to redo it all, because I really kind of like the way it came out, and so you don't get to see all the lights and shadows, but I did manage to get it back to recording mode before all the detail work got started, which is the next piece of the video here. This is day 2, and I've got this thing in my hand. It's kind of a palette. It's called a Paint It Pro, and it's got this sort of fuzzy cloth surface that you pour paint onto, and it holds it sort of suspended and lets you mix right there on the surface, and it rinses clean afterwards. I kind of love it. So I'm going to be doing a lot more murals with this because it allows me to do a lot of palette mixing of the paints that I use for murals, which in this case is basically just Valspar and Sherwin-Williams exterior latex paints. Both of those seem to mix pretty well together. They have the same amount of clay, from what I'm told by the people over at Sherwin-Williams, and they don't really have a problem with mixing. But the day before, all of the lights and shadows were just black, white, and yellow. And today I've got a bunch of different colors on that little Paint It palette, and able to do an awful lot of mixing and value changes and things like that, which really brought the dragon to life, especially in the face. The face needed a lot more than what I was able to do with all of the black, white, and yellow the day before. But in my head, Armageddon Dragon was always a red dragon, not brown. So I wanted to get some reddish tones in there and some purpley kinds of shadows and things like that. And that worked out pretty well. Yeah, you really can't see very well what's on the Paint It palette. I should have probably put that on the video, but there's 7 different colors on there. And I've got the white and the yellow, kind of that purple color I'm using right there. Really bright red, the same brick red, brown kind of color that I used as the base. Kind of a golden yellow, which shows up in the wings a lot and in the face. And an orangey kind of color that it's almost like peach, and I added a lot of that to the highlights. So there you go. That is now what seemed to be very necessary. A dragon on the side of the studio shed. It's not a Harry Potter dragon like everything else on the shed is, but now it feels a little bit more like it's mine and not just a Potter thing. And my dragons belong in that kind of a magical world just as much as Warner Brothers dragons do. So there it is. He looks pretty fun. And there may be some more things getting added to the studio around the sides. Got a bunch of purple area that could probably use other flying things. I hope you like that. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Always like YouTube videos whenever you enjoy them. It really matters. And subscribe to the channel. And thanks very much for watching.